Bible teaches that God is revealed to us through the record of nature. If that's the case, then there should be scientific evidence for a creator's existence. Is that the case? I'm joined today by Dr. Jim Painter, who is a food scientist and a Christian, to help unpack that question. Jim, do you see evidence for God's fingerprints in nature?
I think I saw it first when you were a kid. I'm 7, 8 years old, and my dad had me looking up at the stars, and we started studying astronomy. Nowhere like you do it here with all the physics, but just enjoying looking at it. Mm-hmm. And I remember, seeing Andromeda Galaxy, that little blob. I mean, it doesn't look like this nice big thing, it's a little blob. And they would say that is just a whole nother galaxy out, really. And so I was fascinated by that as a kid, mm-hmm. and thought even as a little kid, how could all of this be without some kind of creator behind it as a little kid?
Yeah. So now, as a life scientist, do you see design in biology?
When I was in college, my first 2 years, I was an avid evolutionist. Everybody was. That's what you did. And I'm taking comparative biology classes and genetics. And I asked the teacher one time, okay, I get this whole, fin, foot kind of a thing, things trend. But how did the first cell come about? And she said, well, there's this opera neurae thing in mid-50s. There was a spark, a first amino acid was created. I said, okay, that's an amino acid. How did the first cell? I mean, the cell has to have a cell on the outside, the cell wall. And you've got all these things to take food in and food out. You got to, something in there that makes power, that powers the cell. And not only that, but you have something inside of it that actually recreates the entire cell. Yeah. How'd that happen? And she went, that's all we have. And I went, that's not enough. And then I started looking for another answer because, are you kidding me? You mean all this stuff I've been learning as a biology student is based on nothing? Yeah, that really got my attention. And so then I start looking at that and I start thinking, okay, well, if it didn't, then this whole creation thing is probably true. I remember someone when I was a freshman talking about Noah's Ark, and I went, oh, they're really serious. They believe it's Noah's Ark, because I was just in that vein of things. Right. And so, but as I started looking at it, then I thought, wow, look at the design on all of this stuff. How could it have happened? You couldn't just generally build up to a cell. It just had to be all at once functioning. And that's when I started becoming convinced, obviously this is designed. It has to be. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because that's very much parallels my story. I was embracing the evolutionary paradigm when I was an undergraduate student, heard the same thing. It's the Miller-Urey experiment, right? That explains the origin of life, and bought it. And then as a graduate student, it's like the elegance and the sophistication of biochemical systems and the origin of life problem convinced me there had to be a mind behind things. I mean, apart from the origin of life, if you will, what else do you see in biology that to you looks designed?
Well, as I studied just the basic stuff of the whole Krebs cycle, a sugar comes in, it starts being broken down, gently it's broken down, pieces come off, and then there's, acetyl-CoA, and then that just goes into the Krebs cycle that again continuously is putting out energy, and then you get down to electron transport, and then it starts peeling off even more pieces of energy, and you got energy. And I'm thinking, wow, if I burn a piece of wood, I put flame on it, it burns up. Right. Or like gasoline. That's just the same carbon-based stuff that I'm eating. Yeah. You put it up and it evaporates and you can explode the thing. Isn't it nice how God made it digest slowly so it didn't explode, in the process of gaining energy from these carbon compounds? And so I look at that and think, that's just amazing too. The way it's put together and you just burn it up slowly. And it could have exploded like gasoline.
Yeah. Now, what about like the way that organisms interact with the environment? I mean, do you see anything that suggests God's handiwork in that?
Yeah, and again, I don't see that. I study the microbiome now on the inside, how we react with what's on the inside. And you think of all of these bacteria that we interact with. It's this amazing big web of complicated stuff and how we don't live without them. I mean, our immune system is partly them on the inside of us. And so on the inside, our life is contingent on 39 trillion bacteria on the inside of us. That's amazing to me. You know, and I look at the outside of this and how God has made nature to just work with us, to be able to, you know, create energy. We eat the energy, we put out the carbon dioxide. This amazing cycle that's out there of energy that God has created that has to do with us and plants, and we're dependent on each other. You know, people talk about carbon, and carbon is a problem because there's too much. But without carbon dioxide, plants can't live. I mean, that's what they live on. We breathe it out, they take it in. We breathe it out, they take it in. And it's incredible to me. If we lay out in the sun for a day, we burn to a crisp and we're dead. You know, if a plant gets sun, it, through photosynthesis, takes that energy, hooks carbon dioxide and water together, makes a carbohydrate, and then we eat it. You know, this relationship we have with plants is just indispensable. Yeah. To think this whole thing just came about in any one of those fashions by chance just seemed utterly impossible to me as a student once I thought about it. You know, I hadn't thought about it, some of the simplistic ideas that I heard about evolution, okay. But then I asked the simplest of questions and there was no answers. So, but the Bible gives all the answers.